Can you give us a quick background of your farm operation?
Alright, we're probably 80% stock, 20% crop. We do try summer cropping as often as we can.
Okay, and what sort of summer crops?
We try to blend them as mixed varieties, but I suppose millet is cheap and easy seed to get a hold of generally.
Yeah.
We have had sunflowers in bulk before too, but other stuff is sort of harder to come by, so we've got a little...
Just single monoculture, like single type of crop, or you do a mix?
No, we try to blend them, mixed seeds, so proper cover crop, if we can. Seed's probably hard to come by at best of times, well, the last couple of years especially, and now this year with the amount of demand on it, I'm not sure how much we're going to be actually able to put in, but I'll try pretty hard, I guess.
Yeah, okay. And the crops, the cereal, so your merino sheep structure is?
Well, at current, it's about 1,650, so let's say 2/3 self-replacing merinos.
Yep, 60% self-replacing, yep.
Yeah, and the other 30% mated to crossbreds. And we top up in spring with bought-in sheep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or sort of winter through to spring, depending on price and viability of the enterprise, I guess.
And then the cropping is cereals and canola?
Yeah, no, it's all cereals the last couple of years. So we're pretty confident in the wheat crop. We're not as confident with our barleys or canolas or anything to be as successful, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay.
So canola was tempting this year, but I wasn't ready and not well enough prepared. So
okay. Okay. So what are predominantly 80% stock, self-replacing merino ewes, 35% crossies, and then 20% crop, which is all cereals, predominantly wheat.
Yeah, pretty well. We do like grazing varieties and stuff for our own seed, but that's like Dargo ryegrass, which is a bit of a failure you would have seen around there this year, and the Moby barley, of course.
Oh, okay.
And Ceradella mixed in with it. So,
So then what are your key goals in the sort of one, this is quite a hard question, but 1, 5, 10, 50, what's your sort of... Have you thought about that enough? Or
I suppose, to reduce chemicals as much as we can, I suppose, and fertiliser use. Like I've probably gone up a bit higher with fert use this year because of the season. I probably, if I can do that, and it doesn't have to necessarily be an increase in yield, but a nice big increase in profitability. So I suppose it's probably one of those things when you compare canola on a year like this where the prices are, it's pretty difficult to match the profits the guys are going to make on those sort of systems. But if I can match, I'd say match or even beat the conventional type farmer on his profitability, I'd be quite pleased.
Yeah. So so maintain
and
traditional farming profitability.
Yeah.
But by
maintain / increase, I suppose. But but without sort of compromising ecosystem / environment, whatever.
Yeah. How would you describe your understanding of regenerative farming, sustainable farming?
I know. It's. I don't know. Regen ag is such a vague. It is like I know what the idea of what they're trying to do is pretty well understood. People trying to go greener, I suppose, but to fit into that definition, it is quite vague and sort of a broad term. So, for I don't. It doesn't really like they're trying to put a label on it, but I think it's sort of you see organic and it's pretty black and white. You sort of this is this, and the in between is so broad. You sort of it's not like a scaled sort of thing. I find it hard to define anyone who's really regen ag in the area. The general principles that people are aiming towards probably more organic style farming, but they still are using chemical and fertiliser inputs. So
within the general community, the understanding of regen ag is
a bit fuzzy, isn't it? Yeah, that'd be for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And I think that's right. And I think one of the things, so I don't know, you know, Charles Massey.
Yeah.
He describes himself as a landscape manager.
Yeah, because he came over. He did a tour of our place when we had a summer crop in a few years ago.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did the speech in town and stuff. So he was all right, but he was all right. He's just about the vaguest speaker I've listened to as well, like for in person, and people are.
Yes. Yeah. You never get a specific thing to what to do to be a regen farmer.
No, that's right.
Yeah. Well, how would you describe your management style for your farm? What do you?
I don't know. I'm not sure I'd come up with a particular term. We're still graziers as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, that's probably about as close a title as I'd put to it, I guess. So we're probably going to be, on this property since we've taken it over, we're going to be doing a lot more older style farming techniques. Like we'll be putting in excavated catchments, so contour banks again, where a lot of people have obviously filling them in with the large scale GPS programs and stuff, which also help as shelter belts for the sheep, and probably managing smaller paddocks and get managed slightly better rather than, well, I suppose the variable rates tech's getting pretty fine-tuned now, but on years like this with waterlogging, we're finding as well that the excavated they're draining the water a bit better because you don't have such big pools in the middle of the paddocks. So a bit more seepage away from areas.
Yeah. So you're looking to so in that, for managing your water, you're looking at keeping it up the landscape, or trying to push it to places, or
it's mainly going to dams, and some places where it has been put in on other properties earlier in the piece. It was used to drain into creeks. We obviously are looking into Mum's been looking into the rehydration stuff. Next door neighbour, he's tried to do some of because he's obviously McFall, he's tried to do a few of the ideas behind it. It'd take me ages, I'll resend the information later on. But it's basically same sort of thing, trying to pull water up higher in the landscape. But obviously people are a little bit concerned with that sort of idea when we've got a fair bit of salt water underground and a rising water table in some areas.
Yeah.
Like this farm especially is...
subject to waterlogging.
Well, I wouldn't say waterlogging. One patch down the back is, but on the property we're on now, it's a very high water table. It's not really waterlogging. It's just like, they've got a dam just over there, which when we scooped it out at summer, half filled with seepage salt water again. And it's nearly sort of 20-30 metres higher in the landscape than Mum and Dad's farm. And then they go up the top of the hill, and that just seeped in worse. Yeah. It was nearly 3/4 full of salt water by the time we finished scooping it, pumping it out.
Oh, was it?
So, and it's good productive ground all around it, so I think it's just saltwater dikes forcing, rocks forcing it up.
The granite dikes or rock dikes pushing the water up.
Yeah. So, so I'd like to know a lot more before we trialled anything like that. But I know Muresk is going to trial some of that work this year.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are doing the holistic management sort of great style grazing. I can't really call it cell grazing or whatever because there's no fixed boxes that we.
It's management grazing.
Yeah, managed grazing. We are moving into moved into a disc seeder system in the last few years.
So minimum tillage.
Yeah.
And that is the primary reason for moving into minimum tillage?
We had the machine because we wanted to do pastures anyway, so a few years ago, and we thought rather than switching to a different machine and see if we could make it work
Yep.
And it's
So it's more,
like it is. If we can get in early, with minimum disturbance, so wind and that, we can sort of be a bit more covered if we do want to graze pastures early or whatever. Yeah, or like next year, we're hoping to have early feeding in March on stubbles, and just sort of take sheep off it, even though.
Like so.
Yeah.
So keep the cover undisturbed.
Yeah.
And then you can plant it
early planting without sort of erosion concerns, I suppose, on dry years.
Yeah.
I suppose minimal chemical intervention where possible, and I'd probably say reduced fertiliser use. I wouldn't say we're much lower than anyone else really or anything, especially this year, but yeah. Well, I'd like it be less than the guys doing 100 units like you were talking before, but yeah.
But you're using a lot of your, being 20%, 80%.
Yeah.
You can use a lot of your organic matter or organic nitrogen that's built up in your pasture phase.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
To release that nitrogen into the crop.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's the 5 principles and.
Yep.
And then the 5, which relate to the 5 functions.
Yep.
Regenerative. So the first principle is minimum tillage, and that pulls into the function of the water cycle, because you're essentially trying to build your organic matter as much as you can.
Yep.
The organic matter or organic carbon then increases your moisture storage and available moisture in the belt of the soil.
Yep.
So that's something that you're actively aiming to do.
Yeah. Yeah, where we can.
For
sure.
And are you monitoring your organic carbon levels in the soil tests?
Yeah, I think we're sort of between 3 and 5 years we soil test.
Yeah.
So not annually.
No.
And I'm sort of still trying to work with some carbon projects to get a better idea of how big an increase we should be expecting if it's managed correctly. And that seems to be pretty vague as well. So
can you elaborate on the carbon project?
Well, we haven't actually signed up to any, but we're just sort of looking at it. So
who's that? Oh, like selling carbon or?
Carbon credit projects and all that sort of thing. So Carbon Sync approached us at one stage, and then and since then, SWIC have sort of decided they're going to be a bit of a they're going to look at all different forms of carbon.
I've heard of SWIC.
Yeah, right? You don't know SWIC?
No.
Southwest Catchment Council.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're Bunbury based, and they service, I think they virtually cover the Katanning zone with Kowald River and Blackwood, so they go all through here.
Okay.
Because I'm a member of Landcare as well, we were asked by many farmers about this sort of thing, and we sort of talked to SWIC because SWIC have actually decided they're going to somehow have a look at different forms of carbon projects and maybe come to a report of some description, an informal sort of thing to tell farmers what they think and have them come across the information to inform the public, I guess.
So you're getting a bit of interest from neighbours and other farmers?
Oh, yes and no. It's sort of a lot of the guys around here are still fairly conventional. So and I'd say, most of them are probably getting a bit above our yields. Not all of them. Like last year, I'd say we probably were in top 25% last year on a dry year. But I'd say this year I'd probably put us closer to the average, maybe a little bit below.
Yep. You're a reasonably conventional farmer, other than you're a grazier with a cropping program rather than a cropper
with a grazing
program.
I suppose when I hear what some other people are doing, I still do think we're for more regenerative, I suppose, but it's I suppose not huge differences when you look down to, apart from probably the extra management we do put into the livestock.
Yeah.
There's probably not enormous amounts of variance really.
the next principle is the keeping the soil covered.
Yes.
And with preferably green material, and that sort of relates back to the function of the solar function.
Yeah.
Which I do understand a little bit where they're coming from. Is that the aim is that the sun shines.
Yeah, get as much photosynthesis and all the rest of it.
And whereas the traditional cropping program is to kill everything.
Yeah.
Apart from that 5 months.
Yeah.
And then through the winter, you probably your ground covers starts at 5%. Takes a long time to get to 50%. So it's probably only a 3-month window that you're actually fully covering your soil.
Yeah, probably. Oh, yeah, yes and no. Yeah.
When you look at it now, it's probably longer. But,
yeah.
So how do you with cover crops, summer cropping.
Yeah.
One of the things you're looking at is increasing the green material.
Yep. Yeah, any brown material's fine too. So
leaving brown material. Yeah.
Yeah, so probably with the brown material you're increasing fungal growth because you got more cellulose-based materials, or no simple sort of easy bacterial breakdown product, or less easy breakdown.
Yeah.
Like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to keep the the soil cooler. Yeah. Does it improve water retention, improve erosion?
Yeah, we don't have... Well, we probably are seeing a little bit this year in front of the dams where it's coming out of some of the sandy country, but it's not... No, nothing. Barely. I haven't seen any erosion for a long time. Probably... Yeah, most people wouldn't have any erosion apart from the guys who had pretty serious fires around here the last 2 years ago. So.
Oh, the ones that were north.
Yeah.
Have you ever investigated your soil microbiology?
No, I want to do some serious testing if I can to sort of define whether it's valuable to do aerated tea, like composted aerated tea, to do like inoculums for the paddocks.
Yeah.
I did have noticed when we've done it. Coating seed with like worm juice and other products, well, probably more the worm juice. We did notice a difference on this farm, but I probably didn't do it well enough to actually have a case study put against it. So I couldn't actually define one paddock being enormously better than the other. I probably should have, done some strips or something to make it look. Give myself actual numbers.
Yeah, to create a proper trial. Or really give yourself a good hypothesis to test.
Yeah. I think we have to be pretty careful how we manage our stock if we do summer crops and all that sort of thing. So I think large parts of the year they are still eating brown material.
Yeah.
So the summer crop only probably takes on maybe 20% of the farm when I can establish it. But we do have a lot of perennials and other grasses that probably get a bit better start in spring, sort of summer, where we can shift them around so they do get green feed in other parts of the year.
What percent of perennials would you have in it, and how would you, where did you put them in your practice, farm rotation?
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of kite because we've got a lot of sandy sort of river country. Around Mum and Dad's place. There's been nothing placed on any of the other properties. So it's probably, I wouldn't call it all the least productive ground, but there are a lot of the patches where the perennials are probably less productive.
Yeah.
So,
have you looked at panics and...
Yeah, we've grown it.
You've grown it, and you find them better than the kike?
The panic didn't last. We got it about 5-6 years growing, and
good to eat now. God, Gatman?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, no, I didn't continue. I think there's occasional plants that might have a bit of the seed still pops up, but nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a very big percentage.
Okay.
No, the lucent's held on for years though. We've had that for 10 plus years now.
Yeah. But then, so once a paddock goes to a perennial, it stays in perennials?
I've sort of seed into it and put other grazing varieties, and that wouldn't worry me. But I haven't done probably really up to date, but I wouldn't sort of spray them out to do it because they're so less productive in that sort of winter sort of autumn phase, but unless I really wanted to go crop and probably spray it out, but yeah, I don't think I'd even worry about that. They're mainly used as grazing lands.
So it's all just predominantly a sandy country.
Yeah, sandy country, and there's a bit of salt affected stuff. We've got tall wheatgrass.
Oh, okay.
Probably become less productive though. It seems to be because it's salty, sort of, well, not terrible salty, but sort of lower lying, sort of hard country.
Yeah.
Whether the soil's been tightened up so much because it hasn't really had many lime applications or even tillage for it'd be 10 years, maybe 11 years now. It's sort of become less productive, and some parts it's thinning out, so I'm wondering whether we do need to drag a machine to terrorise it a bit and sort of whether it'd come back a bit better. Because the first year was, within the first 2 years, with enormous production off basically a paddock that was Guildford grass before.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Guildford grass and sort of barley grass and tiny little bit of sandfire. I wasn't terribly affected to that point.
So, I mean, we've covered a fair bit of this, but I guess the fourth principle is integrating livestock.
Yeah, well.
So obviously, and so in rotational grazing, so management grazing.
Yeah. Managing stocking rate at times of due to rainfall conditions or environmental conditions probably.
Yeah.
So that's where the trading comes into it. Sort of we get a dry year. Well, we just get rid of everything if we have to, which I have done with the cattle because the last couple of years would have been torture with them.
Yep.
But I'd have no qualms with buying in. 400 or 500 steers or something if it was appropriate and the market was correct. But I'd want to do some better fencing and have the yard set up a bit better too.
Yeah.
So infrastructure, I suppose.
Yeah. When you try and graze, you try and hit it so to reduce the animal's ability to selectively graze. You try and
that's one of the reasons. Yeah. Also for manure and urine spread is more even across a paddock rather than sort of tree lines or whatever they're going to sit.
Yeah.
And recovery, we seem to, I wouldn't say we get more production out of a sort of grazing, like out of this managed grazing like this, but we certainly, I think we feed sheep a lot less than anyone else in the area.
All right, yeah.
So less supplementary feeding requirements, I suppose.
Yeah. And so with your livestock, I don't know how you measure the fertility they give to your crop. I guess your strategy is to reduce your fertiliser income. So by using your livestock, you're building up your organic matter there. Manure on through it.
Yeah.
Do you think you get a good effect of that through your crop?
Yes and no. I think we probably need to manage because we have so many extra stock. I think the stubbles probably get thrashed a bit harder than the guys who do proper strip till systems. So like this year we've found, because I never replaced the discs on the disc seeder when I probably should have had, we had a lot more hairpinning this year, so reduced germination.
What's hairpinning?
It's let's say stubble's folded over or thick grass is folded over, and rather than cutting through it folds it into the furrow and you get less seed soil contact, so loss of germination.
Okay.
So on some paddocks, most of them were sown in the interrow, well probably not the interrow because it's not that fine, or the auto steer, but I'd say in line with last year's stubble. There was one paddock I did it off kilter with last year's stubble, and I noticed probably about 15 to 20% less seedlings.
Oh, okay.
So, but you wouldn't tell now.
Yeah.
But it's sort of it looked significantly worse at the start.
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right.
So, but that's probably the only thing. Like overall, our crops, like I say, for the amount of nitrogen we put on, generally not that much worse than anyone else's. I would have thought. Just it always looks a bit worse from the road, sort of thing, till you walk in. But yeah.
Yeah. The soil carbon levels. Are you actively trying to increase that?
Yeah, that is like a goal, long term, where possible.
Yeah.
Probably refining how we do it. I don't know. Probably that I need to do more education, like courses, or just sort of maybe even just measuring better measurement techniques to make sure we know we are going in the right direction.
Okay. Do you think there's room for better extension around that from industry, or on?
What do you mean, like
better access to information to people who know what they're talking about?
Yeah, I suppose that'd all help. Like there are grants and programs done by research bodies like MLA with their carbon farming initiative, but we weren't successful to get that off the ground in the area this year.
Oh, okay. So you applied?
Yeah, we applied for it under land care as Kowald sort of area to do it, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
So, but I think there are initiatives out there, but they're not sort of as widely supported maybe as they could be. Because like MLA's got the carbon neutral target by 2030, and of course I still haven't seen, much funding put across to that sort of.
Yeah, I can't see what the main strategy is to reduce how they're going to make CNB.
Yeah, that's right. It's sort of.
It's going to be asparagopsis. It's going to be carbon farming.
Yeah, well, there's a few funny sort of things, but you get like other options. If you would have heard like some of the research being done, sort of dictating the animals, obviously. I think there was a study done that's saying that because they're growing slower on pasture, that they're therefore heavier contributors to the methane and that sort of thing. So they're thinking slapping more on feedlots was going to be the answer.
Well, but I have heard that in a feedlot that when you're grazing pasture, the amount of methane that's released is much higher than on grain.
Yeah.
Because of the way they break it down in the rumen.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The sort of my understanding is that once an animal gets, so traditionally an animal's on its mum until it's 350 kilos, and it enters a feedlot at 350 kilos.
Yep.
By the time it gets to that weight, it's released 80% of the methane it's going to release on its way to 500 to 600 kilos.
Yeah.
I can't confirm that. That was just.
Yeah.
So they're really targeting that grass-fed pasture area.
Yeah, on a base sort of thing, maybe it does that, I suppose. But I'd like to do some more information on the sequestration of pasture versus a crop then too, to take that into account. I know you probably.
You definitely put. I think you put more down in pasture.
Yeah. I like to think that the way we do things, I suppose, we'd have like smaller bonuses maybe, like in the fact with like obviously the excavated catchments we put on a lot of the farm on the dry years, you don't get a lot of runoff into the dams, but of course I'd like to think a lot more of that water going into the dams is probably less silt because you're relying on seepage rather than heavy runoff. Yep. So that's only a small win there, I suppose, really.
Well, so paddock size, what are you doing with it?
You got to over mum and dad's place. Like any farm we've managed for quite a few years now, we've owned for a while. I'd say they're probably closer to about 20, between 15 and 40 hectares average.
Oh, so you do have quite small paddocks.
Yeah. And then you come onto this property that we've just taken over, and the probably average would be. Most of them are probably about 40 hectares, but there are two big paddocks where fences have just been destroyed from just poorly managed fence lines. So like there's one over here that was a 100 hectare paddock and it's become 140 because we've ripped up a fence line.
Yeah. But
otherwise I'd have that split down to probably a similar size. I'd be aiming for closer to that, 20 to 40 hectares.
Yeah. So you're seeing advantages in
well, for
smaller paddocks, livestock
for the livestock for a long way. The crop, obviously, you still got a fair bit of mucking around with machinery, but
it slows down.
Yeah, I reckon I could see probably for our livestock enterprise anyway about 15 to 20% increase in profit by having it through better management.
Yep.
Would you see other farmers following your farming system once you've got it sort of where you want it to be?
I think it's possible, but I think the amount of money being pumped into conventional farming research and everything, the profitability will probably increase by the time we get to that stage anyway. So, so I think it's unrealistic to think that the guys who are getting bigger are probably going to turn around and say we're doing something so much better than them at this stage.
Yeah, so it would be nice to be able to think that you're a leader at some point and they come across to your way of farming.
Yeah, I suppose the only way you would is if they sort of really got to a point where chemical intervention and probably chemical intervention was getting harder and fertiliser. Yeah.
If you read what's happening with Roundup,
you
think, is it a matter of time before it gets banned globally? There's already nations in Europe that have banned it.
Yeah, that's right. It's sort of... I know we use a lot less Roundup than anyone I know. Yeah, I reckon we average probably... Well, there's only a couple of people I know that use less, and they're in the same space anyway. Yeah. We're sort of probably using between 700 mil to a litre.
Shit, that's not a lot of Roundup.
Yeah.
Not worth putting in the thing.
Most of the crops are pretty clean, like you would have seen. Yeah. Obviously, the Moby's a bit of ryegrass coming up now in it, and then
but it's good. It's good management.
Yeah.
So why do you put that down? What's the reason for the less Roundup?
I just don't want to like to think we're just pouring shit out just for the hell of it. You know, like it's cheap. There's no doubt about it. $4 a litre most of the time. Well, probably be dearer next year now. It's getting about $6 or $8, isn't it? Yeah. But we sort of.
Do you think your plant's more susceptible because they're not seen it as much?
I suppose, you could consider that because we sort of, livestock phase virtually, 4 out of 5 years, aren't we? So, plus we use like acidifying agents to make it more effective.
So on that 80-20, how much of your farms in crop can be to your crop?
This year's only about 320 hectares in.
No, sorry.
Arable sort of, or cropping production.
You've got some of your perennials that are full-time out, so you've got 6... But what's your normal rotation, if that exists?
No, sorry, say that again.
Let's say of your farm, you got 20% is never cropped,
so
80% is cropped, so then you're a 1 in 4...
Yeah, I suppose.
So the crop, I know you only crop 20% of your farm, but there's areas that you would never crop.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so you're probably good to say probably 20%. Is not croppable. Yeah,
so you're a 1 in 4 where you do crop.
Yeah,
it's like a 1 in 4.
Yeah, well, it probably could have been less. Like we doubled the cropping program this year. From last year we did bugger all. So But I'd probably work on 900 hectares. It'd be easily quite croppable.
Yeah.
Or 900 to 1,000, somewhere there. No, actually more than that. Yeah, sorry, it must be about 11 or 1,200. Sorry.